What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Movement Mindset powered by Station Athletics. I'm Chris Hardenberg here with Joe Pasalacqua, episode number 23. And today we're going to be talking about a little bit about programming, but why it's important to have variety in the sense of short duration, short workouts like heavy lifting and stuff like that, as well as long workouts, and why most programs tend to do one or the other and don't fluctuate back and forth to both.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at programs in general, if you bulk CrossFit gyms, micro gyms, Orange Theories, F45s, boot camps, you could even bucket like yoga studios. You could
Sure.
bucket anything that has some sort of like lead class instruction.
Yeah.
And I like to compare result-driven effect by a really simple thing. The Olympics just happened.
Yeah.
I like to always use the terminology of look at the visual body composition of a distance runner and a sprinter.
Right.
Very, very different.
Right.
Okay. From a stature perspective, but just from a sheer visual, just like
Like the body makeup.
just body component, like
Yeah.
what the makeup of their mass is.
Yeah.
Right? And the thing is, when you run long distances for a long period of time, there's like a book out there. It's actually very, very good. It's called Why Training for a Marathon Made
Okay.
Me Fat.
Okay.
And it's all about what your body does from a consumption for energy.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you look at sprinting versus long distance, there's nothing wrong with the distance.
Yeah.
Okay. But what it's going to do is it burns up all your muscle tissue in your body.
Yeah.
Okay. And what we try to do is, okay, we run weight loss programs, but our weight loss programs are not just to lose weight. Because if that was the case, you would lose a tremendous amount of weight. But in my opinion, you just still look like shit.
Right.
Okay. Because of the makeup of what we're trying to do. We're trying to lose weight properly and gain muscle tissue for a more appealing visual of what most people want to look like.
Yeah, most people come in and they're looking to lose weight, all right? But more often than that, it's like, oh, I want to look toned. I want to look athletic.
But it's educating them on what that means.
Right. Yeah. And so basically we found, like you said, a lot of those programs, it's like, we'll just use Orange Theory. It's like very cardio heavy, no weight training, and people get good results for 2-3 months, then they plateau and they fall off. And so it's like, for us, it's having that variety where it's like, okay, you have heavy lifting, you have weight training, you have accessory work, you have conditioning pieces that are short duration, 3, 4, 5 minutes long, fast, and then long on the other end. And there's benefits to both. But if you put all your eggs into one bucket, you're going to stunt your progress. And so a lot of people, I know you've heard this, most people want to defer to the longer sweat-based.
Well, because it's what's been drilled into your head for eternity.
Yeah.
Right? It's no different than, we just talked about this when we talked about nutrition, about how like someone comes up with this idea of like, I need to eat this item or carbs are bad. And then like you have all these women that don't eat any veggies.
Yes.
Because they're like, oh, it's a carb. I'm like carbless diet. Like, no, well, you're just not understanding what that means is like, just don't eat these carbs, but these carbs are just fine.
Yeah.
Okay. What I wanted to kind of slingshot with this is the perspective of understanding how your body functions is something that we educate people on. Okay. Why we do sprint style workouts versus more longer workouts. Like we did a longer workout yesterday and had a lot of running.
Yeah.
Okay. But guess what? It still had an explosive aspect to it.
Yeah.
Okay. We didn't do like actual weightlifting, right?
Right.
We did more of like what we refer to as that classic CrossFit,
Yeah.
micro gym style workout. But the purpose was very different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Plus we lift 2 days ago.
We
and
did
today.
a huge pump workout
Right.
yesterday. Okay. So it's understanding the purpose. And this is why we write our programs in a 6-week block, because there's an expectation and a purpose throughout those 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And I've noticed a lot of gyms in general, after we kind of started doing that and telling people like, well, none of these gyms fucking do it. A lot of them started to do it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And it's no shame. Maybe they just didn't know
Right.
that they should do that, but it just like organizes your whole program. Okay. But prospectively, I was a decathlete in college, a sprinter, pole vaulter, right? The idea there was I was a very explosive athlete. So when I came into this sport, things that I was very good at was squatting, box jumps, anaerobic style things.
Sure.
Things I struggled with was long conditioning.
Yeah.
You know this.
Yeah.
Anything over 12 minutes, Joe just fucking dies. All right. But then you have the flip side of that. It was like where Marquand can just hold the same pace for 30 fucking minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. And from a sports perspective, that's great. And that's why componently body composition, we looked kind of the way that we looked when we were training
Yeah.
competitively.
Yeah.
Okay. But now if you kind of circle back, explain, okay, anaerobic functioning speed and what it does metabolically to your body.
Yeah. So great example. Essentially, guys, if you're let's look at someone who's a weight loss client or body composition client, right? it's important to weight train because essentially what that does is help you build muscle. In the sense, when you weight train, you break your muscle down, your muscle tissue breaks down, and then it repairs back stronger. And the way you help it repair back is through recovery. So things like sleep, stress management, nutrition. As you do that, muscle needs to be supported by calories. So you burn more calories at rest, the more muscle you have versus the less muscle you have. So what does that mean? That means someone who is, let's take two people that are 200 pounds, one's 10% and one's 30% body fat. The 10% body fat person is burning more calories sitting on their couch.
It's their baseline metabolic rate.
Exactly. Than the person
This
who's
is why we use the
30%.
InBody scale. It gives you a baseline metabolic rate.
Yes.
And everyone is different. Mine's very high. It's like 2,000.
Sure.
I'm not sure what yours are, but
Yeah.
some people I've seen as low as like 900.
Right.
Okay? And what that means is your baseline metabolic rate. That's how many calories you burn a day if you were to do nothing.
Nothing. And so that's where it's like not having that in the program, essentially, right? Like just use the pure cardio base, you'll lose weight, but you're gonna plateau because the amount of calories you're able to burn at rest doesn't change because you're not building any muscle mass. And so you end up plateauing or going back the other way. So that's why it's important to have weightlifting in it. And then for your sprint-based conditioning pieces, it can help build muscle, but in terms of how it operates in weight loss, there's this thing called EPOC, excess post-exercise oxygen consumption. So essentially what that means is you work out, and let's say the workout's 8 minutes long, and you really sprint. Your body for the next however long is continuing to consume more oxygen to replenish your muscles way after your workout's over. And that time is inversely related to the type of workout. So a sprint-based workout has way more, a long endurance workout has less, but there's still some of it. And what that does is basically your body's working hard to recover, and through that work, you're continuing to burn those calories. And again, we don't want to get focused on calories necessarily,
No.
but that's essentially how it helps in the muscle building process, as well as through EPOC, helps balance and helps build towards the body composition that you're looking for. And then it also helps round out your energy systems, where you have, like you talked about, your anaerobic, right, which is short sprint based, and then your aerobic, which is much longer based. And essentially what happens is if you're way far in one direction, the other system, because you use both all the time, like marathoners still use their anaerobic system, but there's stories about like the top marathon runners having like a 10-inch vertical. Like they barely can jump off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
It's because their fast twitch muscle fibers are so weak, or they've been diminished, or there's some science around transition. We're not going to get into that, but like they're so far this way. And then on the other side, you have, let's use Olympic weightlifters.
Yeah.
Like there's been stories of Olympic weightlifters. They're so explosive that like,
they have verticals higher than NBA players.
yes. And then if you told them that like they might go on a 3-mile hike and be gassed.
Might die.
Right. And so to have healthy lifestyle and the best results for 95% of the people coming into our gym, you need to have both to build out a robust energy system.
And this is why typically overall by just sheer design, micro class-led programs in gyms like ours typically provide the greatest exercise driven results.
Yeah.
Because of the variation.
Yeah.
Right. I'm a huge advocate of you get out of the effort that you put in.
Yes.
Most people, when we talk about anaerobic work, I'm talking about explosive work, 5 minutes on, 2 minutes off, right? I used to program a lot of that stuff. People that are listening to this, when I used to write programming, I used to do a lot of interval style work.
Sure.
But you only get out of it what you put into those sprint-based things. Most people don't understand what it feels like to do a 2 or 3 minute workout and literally be so gassed that you're going to throw up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not saying do that.
Right. That's not the goal,
but I'm just saying is like some people are like, oh, the workout was really, really short. Emmy used to say this shit all the time. Like, oh, the workout wasn't long enough. I'm like, well, did you try hard enough for the workout? Because the point of the design of the workout is to sprint and be dead after the 5 minute basis.
Yeah.
To test your muscle capacity, for instance, right? But then the flip side of it is if you do too much of that, and then it's like, okay, we used to do this when we used to train competitively. Yeah. Like, all right, great. All right, guys, we have a 7K or a 5K and we got to do ruck with it too.
Yeah.
Guess what we're doing 3 days a week? We're running 3 and 4, 5 miles every single day until we feel confident to be able to handle that.
Right.
Okay. Something that also why we don't do a whole lot of long distance and 30-minute plus workouts more than like 1 day a week is because when I like to use this as an example. When I was a decathlete, we never ran more than about 250 meters in intervals.
Sure.
And if you know decathlon, there's a lot of jumping events. There's only 4 running events, and one's a 100-meter dash, one's a 110 hurdle sprints.
Yep.
Then you have a 400, which we also consider a sprint. And the only thing that you would consider, in my opinion, people will refer to this as distance. In my point of view, it's like a sprint to mid distance is a 1500.
Sure.
Okay. We never train for the 1500.
Right.
Because your mental capacity was able to handle 4 laps around the track because of how much explosive anaerobic work that you did.
Right.
You're able to gut that out.
Right.
Okay. And from a capacity of like that, like you would put all your effort into the jumping events just because by sheer capacity, you're going to make, like, if you understand how decathlon works, it's a point system.
Right.
You're going to get more points based on that. So that's why explosive work was the only thing that mattered. Okay.
Yeah.
So when I came into micro gym and the CrossFit competitive space, it was a really good carryover because the explosiveness played into a lot of different things.
Right.
Okay. But then if you flip this and you say, okay, great, you're going to be doing Spartan races or things like that. Like, Brandon runs his races up here, right? It's kind of like a hybrid program. The idea there is you can't do that.
No, you have to do
Because
some sort of
when you're
long
doing
distance.
like, Brandon, like what's like your longest,
What's your longest
what's like
race?
your longest race? Just yeah, you're a psychopath.
Either.
Brandon literally just said, I asked, what's the longest distance? He goes, distance or hours, bitch. So Brandon has a 30-hour event. Okay. If I didn't train for, hypothetically, if I were to train for something like that, I would probably try to accumulate 40 to 50 running hours a week
Yeah.
to be able to handle that.
Yeah.
And if I did not, could I make it? Maybe, but there's probably a pretty big chance I'm going to hospital. Okay. But the expectation is you want to train for that. So if we like circle this back to like why we design it the way we do and why when someone comes and walks through the door and we advertise weight loss, we then go directly into educating them into what proper weight loss is a body fat composition that decreases and a muscle tissue composition that increases.
Yes. And that's where a lot of the research is like, especially for people looking to lose weight, you want to operate on the poles, meaning like you want to do short sprint-based weightlifting and you want to do long distance. Like
Correct.
the middle is like not a great place to lose weight. And so that's
because your heart rate never spikes.
Well, and even more so than that, you're just grinding at that point and you're never really, because listen, with the aerobics section, right? 20-minute plus workouts, just as an example, right? What that does is it helps produce a stronger aerobic system, which is the main energy system we use for everyday life. It's also the energy system that if it's very strong, your recovery is very good. Great example. Let's use Marquand. He has a beast of an aerobic system. That's because you need it for CrossFit. That's why you see these CrossFitters that weightlift and then, in the morning they're like, oh yeah, I rode a 10K. It's like, because
So miserable.
I know, because it's like having a strong aerobic system allows you to recover, and it also helps you to better use fat as an energy source. Which, because again, think about the marathon.
This is great that this will be a great slingshot to finish.
Yeah. So think about the marathoners. You said like they have like no body fat. Now they don't have much muscle mass either, but that's why we do both. But it also helps you better utilize fat during your longer workouts as an energy source versus just your sugar stores and your glycogen stores. It's one of those things where it's like when you're able to have both, again, it allows us. We serve the general population, right? That's our thing. And sure, we've got some athletes, but mostly it's Gen Pop who are looking to lose weight, change their body composition. This allows you to do that. And then if you want to, as you go through your fitness journey, sign up for a 5K, sign up for a Spartan race, do a CrossFit competition. You can do all of those things. So it gives you the best opportunity to do.
Do you remember when Fraser like did a triathlon and he like won?
Yeah,
he's like, if people don't know, he's like the greatest CrossFit athlete as of today.
Yeah.
Right. He won the most amount of times. But during his training, he used to do tries, but he would win them.
Right.
But he's also one of the strongest human beings in the CrossFit space.
Right.
Okay. So basically what I kind of want to end with is me and Chris talked about this pretty recently about as you age, there's a lot of studies now because weightlifting has been around for a long period of time from a functional of what it does for your body as you age. I use my grandfather who passed away a few years ago as an example of this. And we just recently talked about this. My grandfather was in unbelievably great shape, played golf. He did manual labor like his whole life. So he was like, I used to make fun of him because like he was like 80 years old and he's like jacked still.
Yeah.
Okay. When my grandfather stopped exercising around being 85, he passed away at 89.
Yeah.
I saw a tremendous difference in his visual
Yeah.
composition and what he was capable of doing rapidly over a course of 4 years.
Yes.
Okay. So my point being is when I sit down in this chair and I'm 80 years old, but I have been active and I have muscle tissue in my body, I'm going to be able, even though it's going to be harder because now I'm older, I'm going to be able to move up and down functionally and move up and down stairs still, because the most strongest point of your body, people are like, oh, well, the biggest muscle groups is your legs. Honestly, it's your midline, and your midline is your abdominals all the way through to your hips.
Yeah.
Okay. And that includes your glutes, your hamstrings, and quads.
Mhm.
Okay. So doing functional movements continuously in an explosive manner create strong, lasting muscle fibers in something that keeps your longevity of your life.
Yeah. So that's, guys, just so you're aware, it's super important to have both, especially if your goal is weight loss or longevity, and being smart within that. So that's why our program is structured the way it is and why you're going to see both throughout the course of our program. So if you're in a program that is only doing one, or you're only doing one for your training, even if you're training for something, make sure you dip into the other one to make sure you get the most out of it. Again, guys, if you like what we have to say, like and subscribe to us on YouTube. Give us a 5-star review on the podcast platform that you listen to us on. We'll see you at the gym.
Peace.